Good day, grade 11s. My name is Patience Ngobeni, and I will be taking you through today's exciting lesson, which is called Safety Management. Now, before we start with the lesson, grade 11s, I want you to remember that when we are talking about safety management, we are looking at what is it that the business must do to ensure that both the employer and the employee are safe in the workplace when they are producing their goods and services. Now, before we can get to it, let's look at our Did You Know for today. It is said that before the year 1920, traffic lights did not have a yellow light. A Detroit police officer named William Potts added a yellow light to warn drivers that the light was about to change to red. His invention was later sold to a company called the General Electric. Now, isn't that interesting? In today's lesson, you should be able to explain the reasons why businesses manage safety in the workplace. You must also know how to discuss the requirements for a safe environment. You must then also be able to recommend the precautionary measures that businesses should take when they are handling machinery. You must also be able to explain the purpose of the Occupational Health and Safety Act, and then be able to suggest ways in which businesses can comply with the Occupational Health and Safety Act when they are handling machinery. Let's look at the concept map that shows exactly what we will be covering today. We are going to be looking at the reasons for safety management. We are then going to look at the requirements, the precautionary measures, as well as the Health and the Safety Act. Your pre-knowledge question for today says that you must know the meaning of safety management. Which brings me to the pre-knowledge practice question for today. The question reads as, elaborate on the meaning of safety management. Remember, grade 11s, when you are elaborating, you are supposed to give a detailed explanation of exactly what you are saying. Now let's look. Safety management refers to applying a set of principles and measures to prevent accidents as well as injuries during the production of goods and services. So like I said, when businesses are manufacturing products, there are certain safety requirements that they need to follow to ensure the safety of both the employer and the employee. These are the terms and definitions that you will come across in today's lesson. The first one is hazardous substances, which is defined as any material which can cause harm to either you directly or indirectly. We also have what we call a protective gear, which is protective clothing such as your helmets, face shields, boots or gloves that are worn by workers to minimize their exposure to hazards that may cause injury or illnesses. We also have a first aid kit, which is defined as a small box containing items such as your bandages, the plasters, and wipes for use in giving help to a sick or an injured person until full medical treatment is available. Lastly, we have the word publicity, which is defined as information that is used as a means of gaining public attention or support. Now, grade 11s, I want you to then internalize these new terms and definitions and think about how they are going to add value in today's lesson as we go to an ad break. Welcome back, grade 11s. Now let's look at our first concept that we will be dealing with today, which is called the reasons for safety management. As you can see from the picture, it is showing that there was a certain fire that has occurred in a particular building. Now you would ask yourself questions such as, what caused this fire? Are there certain things that could have been done to avoid the fire? Now this is what we call safety management in the workplace. It is said that workplace accidents can result in both injuries as well as death, and can result in possible financial trouble for the business. The publicity of workplace accidents will negatively impact on the business's image if safety is not managed properly. So it then becomes very important for businesses to make sure that in the environment that they are in, there are all the safety requirements that are required for a business. We also need to manage safety in the workplace because regular or serious workplace accidents may cause investors to withdraw their money and invest in another company. Now remember that an investor is someone that takes their capital and puts it in a business so that the business has enough cash flow to run its business. So when investors see that the business is not safe, they will then withdraw their money because they can see that there is more loss than profits that are going to be gained. We also need to manage safety in the workplace because potential employees may decide not to accept a job offer at a business where many accidents have occurred. Now, obviously, if you know that a particular environment has more harm than good, you will not want to be associated with such an environment. Therefore, businesses that are not managing safety properly are going to lose all the possible skilled investors or employees rather that can be able to bring more innovative ideas into the business. Let's then check what are the requirements for a safe environment. In simple terms, we are looking at what is it that businesses must do or have to make sure that where they are working, it is safe for both the employer as well as the employee. The first thing that is a requirement is called a visible warning sign. Now, if we look at the picture here, we can see that there are signs that are telling us that a road is closed. So as a person passing that particular area, you are able to know that this is a no-go area because there's either harm that is going to happen or there is a hazard that is going to take place. It is said that the necessary safety warnings and signs should be visible in the workplace. If there is a hazard or a harm in the workplace, it is important for a business to put these warning signs to make sure that employees can see them from a distance and avoid them at all costs. The business should also inform their employees of any dangers in the workplace. So in as much as I can put a sign, I need to then inform my employees to say, there is a danger in a particular area and we are advising our employees not to go there because there are certain harms that are associated with entering a particular environment. The second safety requirement, as you can see from the picture here, is called a first aid kit. Now, businesses are required to have an up-to-date first aid kit in an easily accessible place. So now, if you are following in this lesson, you would have seen that a first aid kit is a box that is containing all the necessary things to at least help an employee when they're injured until proper help can come. Now, this is in a form of a bandage. It can be a form of a plaster and so forth. According to the law, at least one employee should be trained in first aid. Now, this is to ensure that when injuries do happen, there is someone that is able to offer assistance to the person that is injured. The third requirement is having a safe working environment. Now, here I need to ensure that the workplace in which I am operating in is free from any hazards. There should be no hazardous substances that can cause any damage or disease or an injury to employees or the visitors that are visiting the business. So in simple terms here, the requirement is that the environment in which employees are working should be clean. There shouldn't be any form of pollution that is going to cause ill health to their employees. Workers should also be informed of the potential safety and health hazards. So it might happen that we are working on a factory, for example. It is very important for the business to inform their employees that there are particular chemicals or there's smoke, for instance, that can cause harm to the employee's health. So by the employee being aware of all these details, they are also able to take precautionary measures to ensure that they are safe while they are working. Now, grade 11s, I want you to think of other ways in which you can manage safety in the workplace. What do you think businesses can add to make sure that there is less harm that can happen to the employees? I am going to give you a few seconds to think about it while we are going to an ad break. Welcome back, grade 11s. I hope you are enjoying the lesson so far. Now let's look at our next concept, which is called precautionary measures. Here we are looking at the precautionary measures that businesses should take when they are handling machinery. Now remember, grade 11s, that in some businesses it is a requirement to use certain heavy machinery. Now this machine can cause harm to employees if it is not handled properly. Now, it is very important that businesses should have ways in which they are ensuring that all the machines that are used in the business are safe and free from harm. Now, let's see what is it that businesses can do to make sure that this machinery is safe. It says there that businesses must ensure that all the machinery and equipment are correctly installed and they are safe to use. Now, before I can allow my employees to use a certain type of machine, I need to be sure that all the equipment is installed properly. I then need to conduct certain tests to verify that the machine is safe to use, and then employees can start using it. All the workers must be properly trained on how to use the machinery and must be informed about the risks when using the machinery. So it might happen that I work at a butchery, for example. Now that is a place where all types of machines are used to cut meat. Therefore, it is very important for me to train my employees on how to use the machine. And I also need to warn them of the certain hazards that can occur if they do not handle the machinery in a correct manner. The business must also conduct regular safety checks and also make sure that the machine that is being used is maintained and is also serviced on regular basis. So the machines that businesses are using must always be checked to see if it's still functioning the way it's supposed to be. And if it's not, businesses will then have to take certain measures to ensure that they are maintaining the machinery so that employees are not harmed. Workers also need to wear protective clothing and gear such as the overalls, their safety helmets, masks, heavy-duty boots, and welding goggles when working with machinery and equipment. Now, as you can see from the picture here, there is a particular employee that is working with machinery. You can see that this employee is wearing a safety helmet. They are also wearing goggles and they are wearing gloves. Now, this is to ensure that all the things that are used are not going to cause any harm to this employee. Hard hats should also be worn on construction sites by everyone on the site. Now, a hard hat, grade 11, is also the same as a helmet. Now, let's look at the Health and Safety Act. Remember, grade 11, an act is the same as a law. Now, it is very important to note that there is a particular law which is a requirement by the government that businesses need to follow when they are handling machinery or when they are producing goods and services. Now, this Health and Safety Act is there to make sure that both the employer and the employee are responsible when they are working in an environment. Now, this act is there to make sure that all the employees in the workplace, as well as all the business owners, are following the right rules when they are producing goods and services. It is said that the main aim of the Health and Safety Act number 85 of 1993 is to protect the health, safety, as well as the welfare of employees and to safeguard the public who may be exposed to risks from work-associated activities. So this simply means that the Health and Safety Act is there to make sure that even the public or the society is free from harm that the business can cause. Now, it might happen that the business is causing pollution that is harming the society. So the act is there to make sure that they are finding precautionary measures to use to ensure that everyone is safe. The purpose of the act is then to protect the health and safety of both the employers and the employees. Now, if you are following grade 11s, you will also note to say that the act is also protecting the public. The purpose is also to outline the roles and responsibilities of the employer, the employees, manufacturers, and suppliers regarding health and safety in the workplace. So in simple terms, in the act, it is specified that both the employer as well as the employee have responsibilities in making sure that there is safety in the workplace. Suppliers of goods and services must also do their part to make sure that the goods that they are supplying to businesses are safe and free from harm. The purpose is to also examine the cause of accidents relating to the employee's health and safety at work. Now, remember, grade 11s, that this act only makes sure that while incidents have happened in the workplace, employees will be compensated for them. So, for instance, if I am found to be injured while I am working, I have a right to then go and claim in the Health and Safety Act because I was injured while working. Now, before the Health and Safety Act can compensate me, they need to conduct their own research to find out if I was indeed injured in the workplace. Now, let's look at what are the ways in which businesses can comply with this act. Now, to comply simply means that we are following the rules of the act. It is said that we must provide our workers with protective gear to protect themselves against potentially dangerous situations. So if I am working in a mine, for instance, I need to have the necessary safety equipment. We can also comply by ensuring that first aid boxes are readily available at the workplace. The machinery must also be maintained at regular intervals and repaired on time. So this is to make sure that we are avoiding certain injuries. We must also make fire extinguishers available at the workplace. Now, this is to ensure that in case of a fire, we have the necessary equipment to stop the fire. Now let's look at what is the purpose of this Health and Safety Act. Now it is said that the purpose of this act is to, firstly, protect the health and safety of both the employer and the employees. Now, if you have been following in this lesson, grade 11s, you will note to say that we are also protecting the health of the public or the society at large. The purpose is also to outline both the roles and responsibilities of the employers, the employees, the manufacturers and suppliers regarding the health and safety in the workplace. Now, this simply means that both the employer and the employee, as well as suppliers, have their own responsibilities in ensuring safety in the workplace. Now, you will note to say that the responsibility of the employer will be different from the responsibility of the employee. The purpose is also to examine the causes of incidents relating to the employee's health and safety at work. So for instance, it might happen that I am injured while working in the workplace. So the Health and Safety Act says that I can claim when I have an injury. Now, before I can claim or get money, I then need to be examined. In simple terms, the Health and Safety Act is going to check whether indeed I was injured in the workplace, because it only is there to ensure that we are not harmed while we are working in the workplace. Now let's look at what is it that businesses can do to comply with this act. Now, to comply, grade 11 simply means that we are following the rules of the act. Firstly, we must provide workers with protective gear to protect themselves against potentially dangerous situations. Now, you will remember that the safety gear that we are talking about includes your helmets, for example, your boots, your gloves, and so forth. It's also there to ensure that first aid boxes are readily available at the workplace. So in case that someone is injured, there is at least resources that can be used to enable that employee to get help. The business can also make sure that the machinery is maintained at regular intervals and repaired on time. Now, this simply means that businesses need to constantly check to make sure that they are repairing machinery before it stops working completely or before it harms the employees in the workplace. We must then make sure that there are fire extinguishers available at the workplace in case a fire can happen. So we want to make sure that when there is a fire, there are resources close by available to at least help minimize the damage that is caused by the fire until relevant people can come and assist. I hope then that you have taken a lot from this lesson, which then brings me to the end of today's lesson. I really hope that you have enjoyed and you are thinking about different ways in which you can add value to make sure that businesses are applying safety requirements in the workplace. This then brings me to the end of my lesson. Remember, grade 11s, always stay shining bright so that you are visible where you are. This is goodbye from me.